Hey, Forrest here. Nothing like getting paid. And with ICCU's mobile app, I can deposit checks or accept Zelle payments so the money hits my account fast. I just wish there was an app for mowing the rest of these lawns.
Right now, Lithia Ford of Boise is buying used vehicles. How much you want for the SUV?
I don't know.
Well, Lithia Ford will give you more than that.
How much more?
More than you think.
I'm not thinking anything.
I'm thinking you might get even more than that. See how much more you can get at Lithia Ford of Boise.
When it comes to concrete, we've got you covered. RowPaint.com offers custom concrete coating services for your garage, business, warehouse, and more. And we do it in one day. We are your complete concrete coatings solution.
It's time for the Winston Venable Show with former Boise State linebacker and assistant coach, Winston Venable. The Winston Venable Show is brought to you by Progressive Wealth Management, enhancing wealth for this generation and the next. To speak to a trusted advisor or to learn more about Progressive Wealth Management's financial services, visit pwmmanagement.com. Now joining Winston Venable, here's BJ Rains.
Yes. He is back. Winston Venable. He held out. The contract negotiations took a little longer than hopeful, but Winston Venable has returned to Bronco Nation News. We're excited the next couple of weeks here as we dive back into spring football. We had spring break. We had basketball season kind of wrapping up and figured now was the perfect time to bring our man Winston Venable in to talk Boise State football as we get set for the spring game a week from Saturday. Winston Venable, my man, saw you at Pro Day. So I know you're doing good, but how you doing, man?
BJ, man, I'm doing great. We the weather's been a little funky out here in old Boise, Idaho, waiting for the spring to really show up, lead right into a nice summer. But hey, man, to be honest with you, starting the week off with a little BSU action at Pro Day on Monday, little BNN on a Wednesday. I mean, come on, man. Let's be real here, man. The week is off to a great start. Get through this hump day and got a little birthday action on Friday. So it's going to be a great week for me, man.
Yeah. I already paid him, folks, so he has to be nice to me and be in a good mood today because he already got paid for the show. So that's the best way I know my guys aren't going to stiff me at 8:55 and say they can't make it today when the check's already cashed. So excited to have you on, man. I wanted to play some DMX, we're back or something, but I just with the copyright issues, I couldn't get it going today. But we are excited to have you back and talk some football, man. Like I said, it was kind of a natural transition. You had the basketball team in the tournament, and then you had spring break right after that. And now they're back at it, and we're going to talk a little offense, a little defense. But I did want to start with Pro Day because I saw you out there. I know you're still very close with a lot of these guys. You obviously were on the coaching staff when all these guys played. What's it like for you? Obviously, you're a former player. I know they opened the door for you with open arms. But in terms of, as a former coach of these guys and wanting to see them do well and even remembering your Pro Day and what it's like to be in their shoes, going back to a ways, what were your thoughts on Monday?
Yeah, absolutely, BJ. It's really awesome to be able to go to a pro day and support the guys, right? Some of these guys I helped move into the dorms. Some of them I was their, offensive coach or weight room coach or player development coordinator, right? I had all those different roles in the program. So my relationships with these guys run pretty deep. And really that's why I show up to those things, is just to support the guys that I've known for 5-6 years now and kind of just let them know that alumni is there to support them along with the other guys. So awesome time, awesome event, get to see the boys. And then some of them I have even deeper relationships with where we talk about maybe the angst and the pressures of Pro Day and make sure those guys' minds are right going into it. Because, for instance, like a guy like Scott Matlock didn't get to combine, and that was a big day for him. But Scott Matlock's also got 4 or 5 years of film, and I just always try to remind these guys that they've always built this cake already over this 4 or 5 year period, and that's your game film. And everything else, whether it's the East-West Shrine or the Senior Bowl or Combine, all these are just small layers of icing, and it's not going to make or break you, so go out there and have some fun with it.
Yeah, and you talk about Scott Matlock, and he was a guy that Yeah, he said, it was, be honest, probably a little disappointed that he felt snubbed from the combine. I think going into the season, we all would have expected that to happen. The numbers weren't quite as good this year, a lot of which was because of the defense being so good as a whole, that maybe a guy like a Scott Matlock or a guy like a JL Skinner didn't have to put up these huge stat lines. But it was a big day for Scott Matlock, and you look at what he did. I mean, I know it's different timing system, different all that kind of stuff, but you put what he did at the combine or what he did at Pro Day up with what, the defensive tackles did at the Pro Day, and he would have been, the best, if not, one of the best overall guys in terms of top 5 in all of his numbers in terms of the 40-yard dash, the 29 reps on the bench press, all the different things that he did. I mean, I talked to a scout from a team after Pro Day, and they said Scott Matlock no doubt helped himself more than anybody else, and maybe went from a guy that was right on the fringe of and probably an undrafted guy to a guy that now I think has a great chance to go on day 3 of the draft.
Yeah, I think what you've seen there just from Scotty is really exactly what happened from that NFLPA game. Is he dominated and did what he did there, and probably was, he probably would have been a guy that could have been selected for the East-West or Senior Bowl initially, but what did he do, man? He performed well. He turned some heads, and he got that invite for the East-West Shrine. And what a crazy week that is for him, right? He goes and busts his tail at the NFLPA just to then hop on a flight and go right into practices and getting coached up by Belichick and the boys. Yeah. And doing that is not easy, right? I mean, not many guys are doing 2 all-star games or 2 postseason games like that. So I think it just lines up along with what Scott's been able to do, and maybe just not as much attention. And now it's starting to go, hey, a lot more eyes are on him, and he's performing really well. So I think you said it, BJ. He probably went into this whole deal as a undrafted free agent, and maybe that happens anyways. But he's solidifying, getting that and getting into camp. And the other thing I tell some of these guys, whether you're going 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, you still got to make the team. So there might be some signing bonus money involved in that. But when it comes down to it, BJ, there's not enough money invested in these guys in those later rounds that, I mean, you're not a guarantee even if you get drafted. So you got to have that same mindset, hungry, humble, go in there and earn a spot on the team. So Scotty's the type of guy that's going to go do that, and highly confident in his abilities.
We saw Caleb Biggers with 23 reps on the bench press and did some things. George Tarlis was out there showing that he was healthy. John Ojukwu kind of let his numbers from the combine stand for themselves, but did the individual kind of offensive line workouts. We'll talk about JL Skinner in a second because he didn't, work out, but we did talk to him. But just the other 9 guys, I guess, that worked out. Any takeaways or thoughts? Obviously, I've got the number at 2.5 right now in terms of if you're setting a Vegas over-under on Boise State players drafted this year. I got it at 2.5. I think Skinner is for sure, and then I think one of the other guys is for sure. I think you get at least 2, in my opinion, but I think you have a chance to get up to 4. I think Matlock, I think Ojukwu, I think Tyreek Jones, and I think Skinner all have very strong chances, and I think that all of a sudden, if you get 4 guys drafted, you're looking at that as a heck of a year for Boise State. I thought Tyreek Jones helped himself with some of the things he did. Would have liked to have seen a little more than 9 reps on the bench press, but I know he's got those long arms, and that can just be tough for a guy. But he did a lot of things at the combine as well to help his stock. Any takeaways from anybody else that worked out, or just their NFL draft stock aside from Skinner?
Yeah, I think like you hit it. A lot of those guys, I mean, with those 4 guys you mentioned, I do agree with you on that, BJ. I think all 4 of those guys have great potential to get drafted. I think Skinner is probably that guaranteed guy in there, and throwing those other 3 in the mix that, I think they have a great shot. When you look at the percentage of combine guys that get drafted, it's pretty high. So you can kind of put Tyreek Jones and John Ojukwu in that mix, and there's only a group of guys that go to the combine that don't end up getting drafted. So hopefully they fall on the better side of that. And I think that's really realistic for that to happen. So, those guys that did go to the combine, they kind of solidified their day. Like you said, maybe the bench press. I think there's some guys that don't even bench anymore that are defensive backs and wide receivers, and I think it measures.
JL Skinner got hurt too. doing the bench
Yeah,
press.
I mean, it measures some strength, but really, are you a football player? Can you tackle? Are you physical? And a guy like Tyreek Jones was one of the most physical football players for the Boise State defense over the last several years. So his physicality and his aggression doesn't necessarily mean that 9 reps really means too much for him. So I think he had a great day. Caleb Biggers, I think we looked at that short shuttle at like a 3.9 something. And I remember when I was playing, I think Austin Pettis was like a 3.96 or something around there. And it's just, that's moving some short quickness right there. So that was a number from Biggers. That was expected, but running in the low 4.4s with the shuttle at under 4. I mean, he put together a pretty good day, and he's a strong cat. So I think he was able to show himself not being a combine guy and really, like Scotty, maximizing his day. So a lot of those dudes did great. And I think more or less, a lot of the guys that you just listed off, BJ, and I know we'll get into it, but a lot of defensive guys, right? Zeke Noah, Biggers, Tyreek Jones, Tyreek LaBeouf. So a lot of defensive guys coming out from Boise State this year, which also leads us later on into what that defense is going to look like and who's got to step up this spring.
No doubt we are going to hear from Spencer Danielson in a little bit, but I wanted to stay one more thing on the on Monday's pro day, and that was JL Skinner. And JL Skinner's a guy that obviously said he was literally just lifting weights, doing a bench press session, and just felt a muscle tear in his pec and tore a pectoral muscle right before the combine, so he couldn't do any of the stuff there. Had surgery March 7th. He's out for 12 weeks is what he told us, and he won't be doing anything till early June. So obviously disappointing because he was a guy that I think we still think's going second or third round, but you never know if but his size and what he can do and what his tape says, if he'd have just balled out at the combine, balled out at pro day, put up some crazy numbers, maybe he sneaks into the back of the first round. So let's hear about a 45-second clip first from JL Skinner talking about the injury and not being able to be out there at pro day.
You really work what you work for, so I mean it's a pretty big bummer to have that taken away just out of nowhere. So I mean it was pretty a bad experience for me in that end because I just had everything taken away from me that I've been working for about 17 years, whatever now. So for a long time, so just really wanting to get there and be in that moment, just having that taken away did hurt, but it's all right. Everything's a little blessing in disguise. I don't think it will hurt me in a sense, just a pec. Like I'm all right, just a pec, not really my knees or anything like that. We'll be fine. People recover from pecs during the season if time need be. So I don't think it'll necessarily hurt me. I just feel like the combine would have helped me in a sense, just really showing I could run, really just brought my stock even higher, not leaving any doubts. But, I think my film says enough also.
The film does say enough, Winston. What's that like for a guy that, again, probably not going to lose a lot, but I think could have improved his stock even more, and then he's stuck sitting there watching. I did think it was kind of cool. He gathered all the scouts together over in one of the ends at one point and kind of let them ask any questions they had and updated them on the injury and the surgery and kind of his timetable. He's still meeting with teams and talking and things like that, but certainly at his size, if he could have got out there and, like I said, had a great pro day workout, had a great combine workout, I think it would have helped his case.
Yeah, I think he really would have solidified himself as one of those top safeties in the draft class. And that's really, it's really up to these GMs, these owners, these coaches on how they really view him now with that injury. I think one of the biggest things is just going to be wanting to poke on him and see imaging and see exactly what's going on and talk to doctors and talk to the surgeon who did the surgeries and all those things, because obviously, his body of work speaks for itself and he is a top guy. Now, where does that injury kind of affect him? And I think a big part of it is just a little bit of that unknown where he's got this window to rehab, and then some team's going to take a shot on him and they're going to poke and they're going to say, like, where are we at with this rehab? Because that's just the question mark that they're going to have. Can you still tackle? Are you still strong? All those things. And of course, he's confident that he will progress, but he's at a position right now coming about 30 days till the draft that, these next few days, these next few months, or this month, I should say, it's going to be a time that teams are just going to be question marking it and poking and picking on him and seeing where exactly that timetable looks with the rehab. And then it's up to them to make the decision. But I will say, whoever does get JL, they're smart because they're going to take a chance on a guy that will end up rehabbing well, getting back to where he is, and he'll be a great player in the NFL.
We're going to talk what his loss means for that safety group in just a second. But, hey, we're broadcasting from the Cutwater Spirits Mobile Studios, more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails. Pick one up today at your local gas station or grocery store. Our title sponsor is RowPaint.com. They're scheduling out for those spring concrete coatings if you want to transform the look of your garage, your back patio, your basement. It's 5 times stronger than epoxy. We've done it at the Rains family and couldn't be happier. Make the call, make the visit to their website, and you won't be disappointed with the concrete coating from rowpaint.com. Lithia Ford of Boise, they're buying your used car. That's right. Even if you don't want to buy from them, which is crazy. You see the Rains family, we bought an F-150 from them. Couldn't be happier. But Lithia Ford of Boise, they'll be sponsoring our hole-in-one contest again at the golf tournament. Some details on that to come. But Lithia Ford of Boise, lithiafordofboise.com. Check them out, and they will buy your used vehicle. You can get their full inventory of vehicles at lithiafordboise.com. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com, the best in mobile e-branch online banking. Check them out, ICCU.com. Find a location, a branch near you. Do it over 500,000 Idahoans have done and make the switch to ICCU. And they're the sponsors of our YouTube chat. So jump on in the YouTube chat. We'd love to have you. And speaking of money and banking, Winston, Progressive Wealth Management, man, give us a quick plug for what you guys got going on.
Man, it's been great, so we're just diving into this next draft class, right? I mean, these 2023 guys, and really for us, it's, making sure that our backyard's taken care of, and that meaning Boise State and the relationships that we have with those guys, and making sure that all the guys coming out have a great resource and great people around them, right, going into this process. So it's been awesome floating around a little bit, getting to know some players outside of Boise State, and really, like I said, it's all about us being resources. So this is like prime time right now for us going into the draft and kind of solidifying some of our relationships and who we're going to be working with going into the future. And for us, it's we got one of our big dogs right now just walked in the office, Matt Paradis, giving a shout out. So it's all about, like I said, taking care of the guys in our backyard, getting outside of Boise State a little bit, being that resource, and it's prime time, man, going into this next draft class. So was able to establish some relationships with some Auburn players, which has been awesome. A couple other guys throughout the country. So it's been pretty cool.
I mentioned the golf tournament coming up June 2nd. I should mention, by the way, Winston, you're going to be out there playing in this, right?
Hey, man. 4.
We're going to get you out there. How's the golf game, man?
Hey, BJ, I'll tell you something, man. I'm getting on the green and I'm 2-putting everything.
Wow. So in a scramble, you might not be that bad of a guy to have then.
Well, I'm going to let it rip from the tee box. Okay. And then I'm going to do, I'm going to let it rip from the tee box, make sure the short game's looking all right. And then if we need help on the green, I'm there to.
Now, are you one of those guys? You seem like one of those guys that the more Mick Ultras you get in you, the better you play. I mean, I think it's
I don't know about that. Well, you got to be aware. You got to get the danger zone is when I get the driver out, because who knows where the ball goes. I'm the type of guy that probably relates my game to similar to like a 70-year-old guy that just kind of slaps it out there, keeps it in play, uses the irons a lot, and just plays the safe ball.
So for the long drive competition, we don't have to worry about you being there competing for that, or?
Well, I mean, as long as it goes straight, I might have some distance on it. It's all this stuff.
Well, we're looking forward to that, man. We appreciate you offering up your time. We're raising money for the Idaho Youth Sports Commission. It's going to be a lot of fun. June 2nd, we mentioned yesterday that Tyson Degenhardt, RJ Keene from the basketball team are going to be playing. We're working on some other NIL deals as well. And we're running out of space. So if you want to meet Winston, see that slice in action, come on out to the Bronco Nation News Golf Tournament June 2nd. You can get more information. It's bronconationnews.com. Click on the golf tab at the top of the page. And, Winston's going to be out there. Coach Riddle's going to be out there. Some of the basketball coaches, Matt Bauscher will be out there. We're working on some other folks, potentially some NIL deals, depending on workouts with a football player or two. We'll see how it all shakes out. But Winston did want to throw in a plug and say thank you publicly that you're going to be coming out to the tournament. Now that I've publicly said you're coming, we put the pressure on you. You can't back out. That's
for
the main
invite,
reason.
man. I'll be happy to make it happen. We got early June. You said, what was it
June
again?
2nd, Friday, June 2nd. So it's the Friday after Memorial Day. So you get the 4-day week turns into a 3-day week, with the golf tournament on a Friday. It's going to be a fun time.
Beautiful.
Let's talk about the defense because we mentioned 11 guys worked out for Boise State at Pro Day, or 11 were there, I guess. 9 of the 11 are on defense, Winston. The only offensive players were John Ojukwu and Kurt Rafdal. I'm sure there's been a disparity like that in the past, but I can't remember so many defensive guys compared to offensive guys. And when you see that trickle down to the current roster at spring ball, I mean, there's a lot of key guys. I mean, you're talking about Tyreek Jones and J.L. Skinner, two starting, safeties. You got Zeke Noah at linebacker, Scott Matlock on the defensive line, a starting corner in Caleb Biggers. I mean, literally every level of the defense is losing a all Mountain West caliber player. It's going to be an interesting spring and I guess off season going into the fall to see who replaces those guys. Here's Spencer Danielson talking about trying to replace those guys and how it's going at spring practice.
I know, BJ, good question. I mean, it's definitely been something that we've been preparing for, like we talked about even in January with signing day and then the second signing day period. So we knew it was coming. Obviously, yesterday being pro day, so excited for these young men because a lot of them have been here for so many years and just seeing their growth and development. So yesterday was an awesome moment for this place, an awesome moment for them, but it does show the amount of players we're not only losing on defense, but also leaders we're losing, production we're losing. And so it's been really fun this spring for guys to play, guys to get a lot of reps that maybe hadn't yet. The good thing with some of our guys getting banged up last year was some of these guys had to play. So maybe they didn't go into last year as a starter. They were able to get some really good reps as the season went on because some of our guys got banged up. So there's guys out there with playing experience. There's some guys that this is their first couple months on campus, with some of the early enrollees. So it's a really good mix of some guys that have played and even some of our guys that are returning, maybe banged up, not able to play as much. So we're able to play a lot of young guys, a lot of new faces, and get a really good idea of where they're at. So the big thing for us is just building the foundation. They don't need to be perfect. I'm not going to be perfect. We tell them all the time, but the foundation with which we play is everything. So for us, like our emphasis, communication and eye control. You can do that regardless of your talent level. It's our job to get you ready and prepared to communicate every snap and know what I'm looking at. Then pursuit, like how hard you play has nothing to do with your skill, your talent, how many games you played on the blue. It doesn't matter. So just building some of those, and that's only to name a few. We're just trying to continue to build the foundation with the younger group.
Well, there he is, Spencer Danielson, as I try to figure out how to take him off there. There we go. Winston, what do you make about, I guess it's a good problem to have because you had those guys last year and you want to see them do well, but also a lot of key. And again, it's not just one position. It's every position across that defense. Yeah. They're going to have some guys step up.
Yeah, you just said it, and so did Coach Spence. I mean, it's about stepping up. And I think throughout the course of even last year, you kind of see – and I mean, it's every football program and really at every level, NFL, college, it doesn't matter. But, guys get injured, guys get traded, guys quit, whatever, right? So, I mean, if you just look at even the quarterback situation last year with Taylon Green stepping up, right? That was kind of not I want to say a surprise, but sure. Yeah, that was a surprise. So a guy's got to step up. I think that there was some injuries in the secondary or even linebacker. I mean, I remember last year going, Andrew Simpson's going to be playing now. Let's see what he's got going on. And he ends up having a great couple games and really stepping up and carrying the flag. So it's going to be interesting. I think I got my eyes set on that secondary and also that linebacker crew with Zeke Noah leaving. I'm curious where Andrew Simpson fits in. Shea Oladipo, I'm hearing is playing that nickel position. Really curious to see, how he fits in at that position because, a guy like Kekala Kaniho really solidified himself there. Tyreek Jones stepped up in that position when Kekala left. And that's a big-time position for Boise State defense. So I'd love to see how he does. And he's young. He's played some games, but he's going to be playing more than he ever has. So there's a lot of young guys. And like Coach said, building that foundation, it's got to start somewhere. So some of these guys have been thrown in the fire through injury last year. And then some of them are going to be, guys we haven't really heard much about, and we'll learn about them. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys missing. Even a guy on that list that we're talking about pro day, Divine Obichari, he stepped up and had some great games last year. I mean, yeah, he was living in the backfield for a couple games. So he wasn't a starter even, and we're losing him. So there's some depth issues that I see too, where, maybe we'll find out who the starter is. Well, who's behind him as well?
What's the, in terms of an offseason and trying to replace guys at every level, is there one position where it's harder to replace and one that's easier in terms of, I guess, if you could could pick like, okay, I'd rather have to replace the D line, but have my back 7 back, or I'd rather have to, replace the safeties as long as I got all league, returning D linemen back, or linebacker, is going to be the hardest one to replace, whether it be just because of who they're losing or just, in general, the position. How do you look at corner, safety, linebacker, D line in terms of what the challenges are there?
Yeah, well, I would say for like the D-line guys, I think you could probably get away with working with some high motor, very aggressive and physical players that just go, and they're attacking and they're pass rushing and doing their thing. I think when it comes to the secondary now, whether it's the two safeties in the back, most of the time, big communicators, right? So you want to have some experience back there. You want guys that have had reps, that are really vocal, that can get guys lined up, and that, like I said, are great communicators. So I would say tougher on the back end, replacing guys like we've got to replace, like a JL Skinner and a Tyree Jones, very vocal guys. They have a lot of experience. They can help get guys lined up. Middle linebacker, typically that Mike linebacker position is a guy that, is very local and he's running the show. So between the safeties and maybe a middle linebacker, those are guys that are hard to replace. They should be the captains of your defense. They should be guys that are the most vocal. So those type of positions, probably more than your D-line or even corners. Those guys the corners are very skilled position, technique based, and they're usually wanting to know from the safeties, what are we doing? Where do you want me lined up or whatever? So safeties is a big place to replace.
Well, we're kind of doing an overview of kind of the offseason storylines and things since we, and maybe next week we can kind of get into a little more specific positions here and guys and things. But I do want to mention the offense real quick before we get out of here. But I do want to. Does Matt Paradis want to come in? Bring him in, man. We'll put him on.
I think he's meeting with the big dog Tracy, man. We'll have him pop in at some point. But Matt's the man.
Yeah, he is. Hey, Travis Hawk's also the man, the Blue and Orange Store. Check them out, theblueandorangestore.com. They'll hook you up. Free shipping, any order over $40. Just go to theblueandorangestore.com. Get your spring game gear. Get ready. Free shipping, any order over $40. Or you can go into the Boise Town Square Mall. Check them out. Second floor there next to Pro Image. Looking for a job? How about Transportation Compliance Service? They can help you out every step of the way to get into the trucking industry. Transcomservice.com. Check them out. Whether it's the Amazon truck in your neighborhood, the big rig on your screen, transcomservice.com can help you every step of the way to get the permits and things you need to get out there towing that first load in no time. You need a dentist? How about Boise Dentistry Co.? Locations across the Treasure Valley, 5 of them. 208-906-1255 is the phone number. Find a location near you, BoiseDentistryCo.com. They make going to the dentist an enjoyable experience for the whole family, BoiseDentistryCo.com. And if you need business insurance, United Commercial Insurance. They can help you out every step of the way. 44 states, they can write business insurance policies across the country. So pretty much anywhere you're watching this from, they can help you out. They make business insurance easy at United Commercial Insurance. And, of course, our friends, Ridley's Family Markets, 13 locations in the state of Idaho. Check them out at shopridleys.com. They got that new app. Go download the new Ridley's app, shopridleys.com. And Matt Bauscher, number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley, he'll be playing in the golf tournament. BauscherRealEstate.com. No home is too big or too small for Matt Bauscher and his team. Check them out at BauscherRealEstate.com. We got 2-3 minutes left here, running out of time, Winston. But offensively, I was going to play a quote from Bush Hamden, but we'll just talk about it and save time. They've got they're in the opposite kind of boat. I mean, a new offensive coordinator coming in, but they got their quarterback back. They got their running backs back. They got their receivers back. They got their top tight end back. And they got, potentially 4 starting linemen back, 3-4 linemen that played a lot last year, I guess, back. Much different scenario on the offensive side. Now, they are trying to learn a new system, new terminology, things like that. What's your overview of the offense this spring?
Yeah, I think you just hit it. I mean, for them, new offensive coordinator comes in. That verbiage might be a little bit different. Might take the guys a little bit more time to figure out, this is what this play was called last year, or it's a very similar concept. But, just getting familiar with their new coach, right? There's a new offensive coordinator, new running back coach, a couple new guys in the building where it's just getting familiar with things that are going on and getting those reps and really building that confidence. I would probably look at the offensive line as one of the bigger position groups that I'd be keeping an eye on, just because there's so much chemistry that needs to be had there, right? I mean, those guys are all working on this string and they got to be on the same page. And we've lost a couple great leaders, and John Ojukwu and Connie, Gonzalez, and those type of guys that really have been there, and they're able to identify things, they're able to communicate. And it's interesting where guys like Ezra Cleveland years back used to tell me, I mean, it's great when him and John Molchon were working on the same side, because they didn't have to even communicate. There was a nonverbal communication going on because they were on the same page, seeing the same things, and it would just, great chemistry. So I think this new group of O-line, they got to build that chemistry and that communication and really solidify themselves as a group. So that's the position group I'll be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, much less storylines in terms of guys having to replace people on the offensive side of the ball, which I guess final thing, what would you rather have for maybe for Andy Avalos and a head football coach? Would you rather have the high-powered offensive guys all returning and have to work on the defense, or would you rather, I guess it's kind of your philosophy as a head coach, which side you're going to lean on, but maybe some would prefer to have a veteran, senior-led and star defense and then work on the offense?
Yeah, you know what? I personally, I don't know how Andy feels, but I personally I'd like to have that offense more solidified than my defense. And I'm the way I view football on the defensive side, it's pretty simplistic in the sense that you can probably get some really high effort, energetic, passionate, aggressive players to go get the job done. And you can simplify things on the defensive side, and you might have to be a little bit more complex on offense. And I just feel like there'll be some guys that, high effort goes a long ways on the defensive side of the ball. So maybe they're young and maybe they don't have as much experience, or maybe, maybe not even as skilled. But when you get a guy out there that can run around with high effort and just tell him, go get the ball, there's some things that work out better. And that's usually why like a defense is ahead of the page than an offense in a fall camp, because you got to run and hit. I mean, that is basics of defense. So get 11 guys to go out there and run and hit people, and you'll be all right.
We didn't get we had a lot of stuff we had to get to today, so we didn't get I kind of neglected the comments section, so I apologize to all those that put comments on your. Sky did say that Venable, the legend, and of course James wanting to know the biggest question, what you think about the point guard they just signed from San Diego for the basketball team. We'll talk with Mike Prater about that tomorrow, but yes, Roddy Anderson III, they did get a big transfer from UC San Diego for the basketball team. We're talking football today, but James, I will discuss that with Mike Prater on tomorrow's show. But Winston, really appreciate your time, man. Continued success with Progressive Wealth Management. What's the website ways for folks can get more information?
pwmmanagement.com. Yep, pwmmanagement.com. And we're really, one of our niches is these football guys and taking care of them and making sure that they're all good to go going into their transition. But really, anybody out there that needs some financial service help, we're here to help.
Well, we appreciate you, man, and we'll do it again next Wednesday, and then we'll do it the Wednesday after the spring game as we kind of wrap up spring ball. And then we got some off-season storylines and countdowns and things that we'll see if we can maybe get Winston involved in, at least on a monthly basis, and try to keep talking football as we get ready for the fall. But Winston, always appreciate your insight and your time. It was good seeing you down there the other day, and we'll do it again next Wednesday.
All right, BJ, we'll see you.
There he is, Winston Venable. Winston Venable Show is back for a couple of weeks. We'll be back next Wednesday with Winston. I'll be back with Mike Prater tomorrow. Full coverage of the Broncos. Bronco Nation News.